In a quiet American town, there lived a man named Ethan. Now, Ethan wasn't failing by any traditional measure. He was just exhausted. Every single morning, his alarm would shatter the silence at 5:30 a.m., and every single night, he'd decollapse into bed with unfinished thoughts buzzing in his mind, and a heaviness behind his eyes that sleep could barely touch. People around him, probably with good intentions, would offer the usual advice. Things like, "Just try harder, Ethan," or "You have to stay positive," and the classic, "Others have it so much worse." But what they didn't see, what they couldn't feel, was the bone-deep weariness that had settled into his very soul. They didn't see just how tired he really was. You see, Ethan worked two jobs. By day, he was in a vast, noisy warehouse, lifting, sorting, moving. By night, he was out on the streets, delivering food, a shadow moving from one door to the next. He wasn't chasing some grand dream of luxury or a fancy car. All he was chasing was a sense of stability, a floor beneath his feet that wouldn't give way. But despite all his efforts, there were days when the simple act of breathing felt like an overwhelming chore. The world around him seemed to hum with an energy he just couldn't access. Inside, an elderly man was slowly closing up shop for the night. He wiped down the counter, stacked a few chairs, and then he noticed Ethan, a lone figure under the dim streetlight. The old man stepped outside, his movements slow and deliberate. Ethan looked up, surprised anyone had even noticed him. He managed a small nod. "Long life," he replied, the words escaping before he could stop them. The old man smiled. It wasn't a smile of pity, the kind that makes you feel smaller. It was a smile of deep, genuine understanding. "Sit," he said, patting the bench beside him, though he remained standing. And so they talked, quietly. Their conversation wasn't about hustle or success. It wasn't about financial goals or climbing the ladder. It was just about being tired. Ethan found himself speaking about the weight of it all, and the old man just listened, truly listened. When Ethan finished, the old man said something that struck him with more force than any piece of advice ever had. "You're not defeated," he said, his eyes kind. "You're just tired. And tired people don't need lectures. They need rest. And they need kindness." Those words resonated in the quiet night. The old man continued, "Think about it. Even the strongest engines have to stop. Not because they're broken, but because they've overheated. They need to cool down before they can run again." No replaying the day's struggles. No self-blame or berating himself for not being more. He just gave himself permission to rest. The next morning, when his alarm went off, nothing in his external life had magically changed. He still had the same two jobs. He still had the same bills waiting to be paid. But something inside him had shifted. A small, crucial part of him had been repaired. He stopped the internal monologue that called him a failure but he was no longer hopeless. The crushing weight on his chest had begun to lift. He was still working hard, but he was also working smart by taking care of himself. It read, "Rest is not quitting. It's refueling." Because he finally understood he was tired, yes, but he was not defeated. Sometimes the bravest, most productive thing you can possibly do is to simply rest, to refuel your engine, and to give yourself the grace to keep going tomorrow. If this story resonated with you, remember you're not alone. Please consider liking this video and subscribing for more content that reminds us of our shared humanity. Thank you for watching.